This week's question of the week comes from one of my students here in San Antonio, and they ask why, after I teach a technique in class, do I pair everybody up with a specific partner and then have them go drill it? Vice, at normal schools, at least at most schools that I have visited over the years, the instructor will teach the technique, and then tell everybody, hey, find a partner and go drill the technique. And that usually leads to like this awkward delay of people trying to figure out who wants to partner up with me, or and then you end up watching them drill, and then you'll have two brown belts over here just drilling away, making great progress, and then you'll have over here a couple brand new white belts paired up, and they're just lost. And so what I do, my philosophy, the reason I do it, is I pair everybody up with a partner. And my goal when I pair the partners up is pair an inexperienced person up with a more experienced person. And that helps because the more experienced person, now has to sort of answer questions, clarify. A lot of times, despite an instructor's best effort, they'll show a technique and they say, hey, anybody got any questions? And you'll get like some blank stares and nobody's got any questions, and then they go off and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get any of this. So knowing that happens, if I put the inexperienced person with a more experienced person, they can help guide them through the technique that they just saw. And that's a more productive drilling than putting two inexperienced people who just can't, put it together. They're like, I don't even know where to start. I'm totally confused. And so that's my logic. So it's beneficial. Oh man, my English is terrible. I'm sorry. It's beneficial for the inexperienced person to have the opportunity to be able to talk to a more experienced person and drill with them on a technique that they don't understand, and the more experienced person can be sort of a mentor in that technique and help guide them along and make it a more productive drilling session. The advantage for the more experienced person, because it's not just a one-way street. Yes, the inexperienced person is getting a lot of advantage out of this, but the experienced person is also getting an advantage. And the advantage the experienced practitioner is getting is they now have to help explain where your hand goes on this technique, where your foot goes on this technique, when you time the execution of the technique, what your signs are, so they end up having to understand the technique better because they're helping to explain this. They're not teaching it over or teaching something new. They're teaching they're helping guide you through what you have already seen, and they're just explaining how the technique works. And the advantage for the more senior practitioner in that is by having to explain it and show it, it makes you understand it better. Like, I can tell you that my jiu-jitsu improved dramatically in my journey once I started teaching classes every day. Like, I was good at the techniques. I was a black belt when I opened my school here in 2016. So there was techniques, I was already good at it, but I had so many of the techniques that I had been doing for many years, I was just doing it off muscle memory. It's like I had just learned the technique. I'd repped it so much that I didn't even think about how I was doing the technique. I was just like, okay, flower sweep. And then I just did it. So when I started teaching, it caused me to say, okay, where does my hand go on the second step? Where does my foot go on this step? When do I execute the move? What's the details of the move? And by having to explain that to inexperienced students or students that weren't familiar with the technique, it caused me to understand the technique even better. and it made my jiu-jitsu better. So pairing an inexperienced person with a more experienced person is beneficial to both, and it will improve both their jiu-jitsu, more so than just sticking two people together who don't know anything and are just totally lost, and then have two people together that are just, you know, they're way advanced and they're doing great, and they're just drilling without having to stop and help it work through these problems. So that's my concept and why I pick everybody's training partner. Now that, you know, once we do open mat, you know, everybody picks whatever training partner they want to work with. But during class, I pick the training partners and I pair them up. And, you know, there's various criteria when I make the decision to pair two people up. But experience, inexperience is one of the top ones. Sometimes size is another one. And it also helps, like I said, it helps facilitate moving the class along, because I'm pairing you with somebody instead of a new person not figuring out who he's going to go with. And it's like, okay, you're the last one on the team picked. It's just me and you. I guess we're on the team together. You know, it's like, no, here's your teammate. This is who you're going to work with. And so that's the answer to this week's question of the week. I think it's throughout my journey in jiu-jitsu, I think it's the most effective way. But that's what's worked for me. And realize that everything with jiu-jitsu, everything with teaching, is constantly evolving. So if I find a better way, I'll switch and do it the other way, or do it another way. I'm not married to any particular idea, but so far in my journey, I have found this to be the most effective way to help my students learn. And so that's why I pair everybody up for their drilling. All right, got a question for next week? Please fire below. Got any insights on your thoughts on this? Fire below. And if you want more content like that, like this, subscribe, because I produce these videos of a question of the week every week. So, all right, till next week. Ciao.